Take it all, sweetheart. The house, the car, the savings. You'll be begging me to come back in 6 months. He said that while his attorney was still gathering papers off the conference table. Ryan didn't even look up when he said it. He just leaned back in that leather chair like he had already won a game I didn't know we were playing. His attorney let out a short laugh, a quiet, dismissive sound, like I was a joke with a punchline everyone already knew. I picked up the pen. My hand didn't shake. I signed every page, slid the papers back across the table, and said nothing. He got everything, every single thing he asked for, and that was exactly what I needed him to do. My name is Delaney. I'm 34 years old, and I want to tell you what really happened in that room. For 7 years, I was a stay-at-home wife. No job title, no corner office, no LinkedIn profile that impressed anyone at dinner parties. What I had was a spreadsheet with every household expense going back to 2017, a filing cabinet organized by month and category, and a mind that never stopped working even when the people around me assumed it had. Ryan was the face of everything. His name was on the business cards, on the social media pages, on the stories his family told at holidays. I was the one behind it. I managed our finances, tracked every subscription, every investment account, every insurance policy. I cooked, I cleaned, I showed up to every family event with a smile and a casserole dish. His mother used to tell people I was the lucky one for marrying him. She said it to my face once, with warmth in her voice, like it was a compliment. I wore the same winter coat for 3 years, not because we couldn't afford a new one, because I was putting money somewhere else, somewhere quiet. I wasn't flashy, I wasn't loud, but I had been building something they never thought to look for. If someone has ever looked at you and decided you had nothing to offer, I want you to subscribe right now. Tell me in the comments that you're here. You are not invisible to me. And if this story speaks to something you've carried quietly, click hype so more people like us can find it. Let's go. 6 months before the divorce papers were signed, I was sitting in the living room with a cup of coffee going cold beside me. Ryan had left his tablet on the couch. He does that, leaves things everywhere, always assumed I'd move them for him. The screen lit up with a bank notification. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the account name. It wasn't one of ours. I leaned in. The notification showed a transfer, a large one, into an account I had never seen, attached to his email but listed under a name I didn't recognize. I sat with that information for about 4 seconds. Then I picked up my phone and took a screenshot. I went to my laptop, opened the folder I'd been keeping for the past few months, and I saved it there with everything else. I didn't say a word to him that night, or the next morning, or the morning after that. 3 weeks later, we were at his parents' house for their anniversary dinner. His whole family was there, loud and warm, and filling every corner of that dining room with laughter. The table smelled like his mother's pot roast and the candles she only lit for occasions. Somewhere in the middle of the meal, Ryan started talking about a friend of his who had recently gone through a rough patch financially. He shook his head, laughed a little, and then looked right at me. Delaney wouldn't survive a week without my credit card, he said. Isn't that right, babe? The table laughed. His brother raised a glass. His mother smiled like it was endearing. I looked down at my plates, then back up, and I smiled too. You know me, I said. Nobody noticed that the smile didn't reach my eyes. 2 months after that dinner, Ryan filed for divorce. He had an attorney who specialized in asset protection. He had clearly been planning this for a while. The papers were detailed, specific, and fast. He wanted the house, the joint savings account, and the SUV we bought together 2 years prior. He wanted it all. My attorney called me after reviewing his demands. She said, "Delaney, we can push back on this. The house alone is worth fighting for." Her voice was careful, like she was handling something fragile. I told her not to fight it. I told her to let him have it all. She went quiet for a long moment. "Are you sure?" I said. "I'm sure." In the conference room on the day of the signing, after I slid those papers back across the table without a word, I heard Ryan lean towards his attorney and whisper, "She didn't fight for anything." His attorney whispered back, "Told you she had nothing." I gathered my bag, I stood up, and I walked out into the cold air feeling more like myself than I had in years.
The days after the divorce were not easy. I want to be honest about that, because this isn't a story about someone who didn't feel pain. I felt all of it.
Ryan's family cut me off within the week. I was removed from the group chat without a message. A birthday party came up, one I had attended for 9 years in a row, and I found out about it through a photo someone posted online. His mother told a mutual friend she was never really one of us anyway. That one landed somewhere deep, because I had tried so hard for so many years to be exactly that. Then came the stories. Ryan started talking. He told people I had quit on the marriage, that I had no ambition, that I just wanted to be taken care of, and when he stopped enabling that, I fell apart. People believed him. Some of them were people I thought were my friends, too. I started showing up to church events I had helped organize and eating lunch alone at a table I used to fill with conversation. The room sounded different then, quieter around me. The scrape of chairs, the low hum of other people's laughter, I noticed every bit of it. And then the final blow came through a former neighbor. Ryan had moved a new woman into the house 3 weeks after the divorce was final. He was telling anyone who would listen that I had walked away with nothing because I deserved nothing. I cried in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store on a Tuesday afternoon. I let myself feel all of it. Then I drove home to my small rented room, opened my laptop, and got back to work. Because I knew something they didn't, and that knowledge was the only thing that mattered. Here is what none of them knew. For the past 4 years, while I was managing that house and attending those dinners and being called lucky for marrying well, I had been running a blog. Anonymous, no name, no face, no connection to my real life. I wrote about personal finance, about running a household on a tight budget, about the small daily choices that add up to something real over time. I wrote because I needed somewhere to put what I knew, and people found it. At first, it was 100 readers, then 1,000. The comments started filling up with women who said things like, "This is the only place that makes me feel less alone about money." I kept writing. I kept building. I gave nothing away about who I really was. What they didn't know was that the blog they never asked about had become something real, something with weight and reach and eventually income. I won't say the number yet, but I will tell you that I had crossed a milestone earlier that year that changed the entire shape of my future. And I had a folder on my laptop, updated every few weeks, that contained every financial record from my marriage, every screenshot, every bank notification, every transfer Ryan thought I'd never find. My husband took the house. He had no idea the house was never my most valuable asset. I had a plan, and I had been patient long enough. The person who helped me understand what I actually had was a woman named Carol. She was 58, sharp, and she had built and sold 2 digital media companies before most people in our industry knew what a newsletter was. I had met her 2 years earlier in an online forum for content creators. We started exchanging messages, then calls. She became the kind of mentor who tells you the truth even when it's uncomfortable, and who shows up when it counts. Carol was the first person I told about the divorce, not about the blog, not about the folder, but about the whole situation. The dinner, the whispers, the "she had nothing" comment in that conference room. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment, and then she said, "Okay, let's talk about what you've built." She connected me with a media attorney. Together, we went through the blog's financials and its history carefully. Every brand partnership was negotiated by me, deposited into my independent account, and had no connection to any marital funds. The ebook I had written and self-published, the newsletter with its paid subscription tier, all of it was mine, completely and legally, and Ryan had never once asked about any of it. Meanwhile, Ryan was celebrating. He posted photos from inside the house, cookout pictures with friends where someone had captioned it, "Winner takes all." A mutual connection told me he was joking at a backyard gathering that I had left with a suitcase and good luck. People were laughing. He was standing tall. His blind spot was enormous. It never once crossed his mind to ask what I had been doing during the years of our marriage, beyond keeping the house clean and showing up to his family dinners. He had decided what I was, and he never looked beyond that decision.
One evening, Carol called me. She had been reviewing the final legal summary with me for the past hour. When we were done, she said simply, "They're celebrating too early. You ready?" I closed my laptop. I said, "I've been ready." 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I published a post. It was careful, and it was honest, and it took me 2 weeks to write. In it, I stepped out from behind the pen name I had used for 4 years, and I attached my real name and my real face to everything I had built. I explained who I was, I explained what the blog was, and in the final section, I talked about the divorce. Not with anger, just with facts. I wrote about being told I had nothing, about being called lucky for marrying someone who saw me as a footnote in a settlement, about signing papers for a house and a car and a savings account while quietly holding something that could never be taken in a settlement because no one knew it existed. The post went live at 7 in the morning on a Wednesday. By noon, it had been shared hundreds of times. By evening, it had reached thousands. My inbox filled up with messages from women who recognized themselves in the story. Media accounts started picking it up. My newsletter gained more subscribers in 48 hours than it had in the previous 6 months combined. Ryan's social circle saw it first. I know this because mutual friends started texting screenshots to each other, and one of them forwarded me a chain by accident. His new girlfriend went quiet on social media that same day. Every photo gone, his page suddenly private. He called me that night. I almost didn't answer. I did. "You had all of this and said nothing?" His voice was tight. I could hear him pacing. "I never asked. You just assumed." He started to say something else, and I let him talk for a moment. Then I said, "I have to go," and I ended the call.
His mother called the next morning. Her voice was softer than I had ever heard it, warm in a way that felt new. I looked at her name on my screen for a long moment. I didn't answer. The laptop folder, the one I had been updating for months, still sat untouched on my desktop. I never needed to use it, but I always had it, and knowing it was there had made me calm in that conference room when Ryan leaned back in his chair and told me I'd be begging him to come back. I live in a small apartment now. I chose everything in it myself. The furniture, the colors, the art on the walls. Nothing came from the old house. Nothing carries that weight. In the mornings, I sit at a desk near a window and I write, and the light comes in clean and even, and it is the most peaceful I have felt in years. The blog has a real name now, my name. I was invited to speak at a women's finance conference last spring. Carol introduced me to the room. She said, "This is someone who built something extraordinary in the margins of a life that tried to minimize her." I stood up at that podium and I thought about that dinner table. The laughter, the credit card joke, the way his family looked at me like I was a lucky accessory. He took the house, I kept myself. Looking back, I think I got the better deal. The most dangerous thing I ever did was let him think he'd already won. If someone in your life convinced you or tried to convince others that you had nothing to offer, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. You built more than they ever noticed, and you deserve to be in a space where people actually see that. Subscribe to be part of this community. We are quiet builders here, and we are not small. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Your story has power. If you felt a connection to mine, please subscribe and share your journey in the comments. Every hype you give this video helps empower someone else. Thank you for being here and for listening.